All right, we're good.
Oh, no. Where are you really?
Welcome. Hope this thing works. Check. There we go. I'd like to welcome y'all to our City Hall and thank you all, first of all, taking time out of your busy schedules to be here on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock. It's a very important topic for our residents. It's our comprehensive plan, Envision Diamondhead 2040. We've been working on this as a community for the last year. I want to welcome Orion Planning and Design. Bob Barber will be presenting tonight. So all of the work that's been going on for the last year, they'll kind of talk through it tonight for you guys, and then we'll have some dialogue for comments, and you'll have opportunity to, again, provide comments online directly to Bob and his team. So Bob?
Mike, thank you, and welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. It's really good to be back in Diamondhead. We've grown to really have an affection for your community over the last year. It's a very interesting place. It's a very engaging place, and you folks are very engaged in your community affairs, and it's appreciated from this process. Our intention tonight is to provide to you the draft plan, comprehensive city plan for the city of Diamondhead called Envision 2040. Some of you have participated through the process all the way through or had some connection to it, some communication with it, or be familiar with it, others perhaps not. So we're not summarizing anything in a PowerPoint presentation tonight. I'm presenting to you the actual document. As I do it, you won't be able to read the fine print, and that's okay. It's not necessary. Hopefully my communication will summarize some of the key points. If you want to view the document, it's on the website. You can download it right now, quite frankly, on your phone and follow along as I go through it, or download it and look at it later. So that's the first thing. We're at a summary level presenting to you a draft. The second thing, you will have varying levels of interest in what's happening here. Some will want to key in on the transportation aspects, and some on this part of the city, and some on that part of the city, and we understand that, and that's good. But we will be providing a summary level overview of the plan. And then I'm hopeful to do this in about 30 minutes. I want to be very respectful of your time. And I don't want you to get bored with it. So hopefully I'll present it quickly enough that we can stay engaged. And then, as Mike said, we'll have a little discussion afterwards, if question, Q&A, and so forth. So that's where we are. Let me start by saying that, again, thanking you for your engagement in the process. Many have been engaged. We want the document or what's being shown here to resonate in the community. And let me start with what is a comprehensive city plan. This is a legal instrument that the city uses to set the baseline for all of its development controls, zoning regulations, subdivision regulations, other kinds of development control, design control. But it's just not about rules. It's also about the more exciting part, setting a vision for the community in the future. So it sets a baseline for the investments that the city will make in itself over time. And if the city is to do zoning, it must have a comprehensive plan, and that's what this document is. So in some sense, it's a legal document, but we don't want it to be. We want it to be an engaging piece of work that expresses the hopes and dreams of the city of Diamondhead. So that's what we're presenting. The process produced a document or a plan that's in essentially 5 parts. There's some introductory material, then there's some background factual data about the community, then there's a visioning process which expresses the vision for the future growth and development of the community. The plan itself is the 4th, and then the last part of the plan is how it's to be implemented. And that's the order I will work through it. And now you'll find that laid out in the table of contents. This is a good organizational piece to understand what you're looking at. Now, this plan, when you look at it, I want to emphasize, this is not a zoning ordinance that we're looking at. We're looking at a plan that covers comprehensive aspects of the city, and it sets the baseline for other policies going forward. So, we start with an introduction to the process. What is Envision Diamondhead 2040? And that's what I've just been trying to explain. What a comprehensive plan is, the function it serves in the community, how fundamentally important it is to the community to provide guidance to future investments and decisions. So all of that text there is explaining where it's found in the law, what it's the required elements. There are certain characteristics of this that are legally required, and we have to put them in there. So all of that's explained. What are we looking at? Secondly, what is the planning process itself? I already touched on that a little bit. You'll see in this diagram right here, essentially 5 steps. There's a discovery process where we study this community factually, its economy, its population, its mobility system, the way land is used, the environment. All of those aspects are studied and conclusions drawn. And then in the second step, there's a vision and mission. And this is where the community participates the most. And you all participated well. We'll summarize that in a minute. Then there is the plan document in the 3rd step. And then the 4th step is an implementation piece. How does plan is not any good unless it's implemented. 5th is follow-up. So that process is explained. Now, we're not reinventing the wheel here. You've already done some planning in Diamondhead. When you became a city in 2012, there's right today, in effect, a 2012 city plan. We're updating that. This will be a fresh version. Somebody asked me earlier, this will be a new version to replace that 2012 plan. But there are other things the city has done that impact and influence the way the city grows. Not just the city has done, but the region has done. There was the opportunities analysis for the coast, the watershed, Rotten Bayou watershed, some other stormwater studies, traffic study in 2016. We consulted all of those, and we drew some information and data in there. Now, real quickly, you have, when we do plans, our particular approach, we want to make sure the historic context, you didn't just drop out of the sky. There's a reason that Diamondhead is here, and it's a result of a long series of events through history. And so we trace that here. It's not a history book, but there's a historic sketch that runs through some of the key historic milestones, but in particular, the uniqueness of Diamondhead is that it is a master plan community built for a singular purpose, heavy on amenities, by the Diamondhead Corporation, not as a city. You became a city later. But even the nature of the development of Diamondhead, how the condominiums were floated in on barges, trucked over to the sites, the Diamondhead Corporation itself, the picking up on the Hawaiian theme, is tons of uniqueness about Diamondhead. And then you have the whole matter of having to transition into a city to be able to, as time goes on, to be able to adequately provide the services that are demanded. These are just a few historic photographs of the out of the annual reports of the Diamondhead Corporation from some time back. That's those the Diamondhead stables I've remarked on several times, and the condos being trucked in on the barge. It's quite an innovative thing. So after a little historic context, by the way, this is the 1972, I think, master plan of the community itself, the original master plan. After a little historic context, we go into the discovery part of the city. So what is this city made up of? How many people are in it? What are their ages? What is their economic position? How is the land used? All of that's covered in the discovery section. So we start off with environmental context. You live in the coastal plain, as you well know, a very, in and of itself, sensitive, unique, natural environment, generally speaking, in the coastal plain. But Diamondhead in particular, with a river on one side and a bay on the other, rising in the topography in the hills with the tree cover, all of that convergence of natural and diversity of natural environment is a big, big deal. It's a big deal. That shows up in the plan, the importance of it. Without going through the detail of what's in the narrative here, you will find an examination of the wetlands. They're mapped, the floodplains. Here's Diamondhead core itself. The country club is right there where the red dot is. All of that's analyzed. We look at stormwater at a high level. This is a very high level look. Some of the stormwater issues, how they can be dealt with more natural, low impact design methods. Trees and tree canopy, the importance of trees in the city. All of that is expressed in the environmental section of the plan. So if the technology will continue to work, which is always dicey, here's one in the environmental section that shows the risk of hurricane. Now this is a hurricane track map, I believe since, I think the year is 1880. And they all converge right there. So we can be pretty sure that another one's probably coming at some point. And that's a city planning issue. The emergency preparedness, the evacuation routes, how you deal with and certainly I'm telling you nothing there because you've all experienced that with Katrina and others. One of the key issues that is impacting all coastal places is sea level rise. So we cover sea level rise to some degree here. These are projections of a 1 foot, a 2 foot, and a 5 foot increase of sea level rise. That's explained in the plan, and you got some graphics there to show the impact on your shoreline as sea level rises slowly. The upshot of that is, even in the worst case scenario, Diamondhead is somewhat protected and insulated from the worst effects of sea level rise. So after we move through the environmental section of the background of the community, we want to look at development patterns. How is this natural environment developed? Where are the neighborhoods? How do they sit? Where are the commercial areas? Where do you shop? All of that's examined in these charts here, and ultimately they are mapped. We know where the residential space is. This is an existing land use map. So Diamondhead you see here, all of that yellow are neighborhoods. All of the green is tree canopy and golf course and amenity spaces. Here's your waterfront down here. The interstate runs through. And here's the commercial core of Diamondhead right here. Incidentally, interestingly, and I think we make this observation later, I'll hold that point till later because we do make it later. The land use is examined, but also important to the land use is what's not developed. Because the vacant land is subject to development, which means more people, more cars, more rooftops, more stormwater, more of everything. So we need to know how would the community build out over time. If every square inch of the community built out as it is currently regulated, what would this city look like? It would have 6,000 more people, is what this analysis shows, and it would have upwards of 200,000 more square feet of commercial space. 200,000 square feet for comparison, 2 million square feet. For comparison purposes, Rouse's over here is about 40,000 square feet. So that's the way it's regulated today. And then we ask another question, is that the best way to build out? Or if the patterns continue as they are continuing now, is that a desirable thing in the community? Is a question that's asked. And when we look at the vacant land, all of the dark spots are the vacant lands in Diamondhead, subject to potential development. The light areas are vacant, but they have some environmental constraint associated with them, and so either are undevelopable or less developable. Lastly, in the land use portion of this thing is the potential for expansion. As the city grows, it can build out, and it can have a need for expansion. Now, the plan is not recommending an expansion per se. It is just saying if the city were to expand, what would be the likely candidates for expansion? And there are two pretty obvious places which you probably know intuitively. And when the slide advances, you'll see Area 1 as being the, I think you refer to it as the back door. Am I correct on that? Out that way. And then Area 2, you'll see it right there as the interstate exit. So everything over to the east. Now there's some interesting challenges there. That's into another county. That's one challenge. There is the issue of the extension of various services. So all of that. But it's very difficult to go west because of the environmental factors. As a community, and we're planning on a time horizon of 20 years. So as we think out 20 years from now, the year 2040, were there expansion, these are the likely candidates, and those have implications for current decision making. I have two more sections of the discovery part, and then we'll go into the visioning. This section deals with demographics and the economy. There's a lot of statistics here, and many of you will be interested in them. Population is projected. There is assessment made of retail demand in the community. And I'm going to summarize it very generally by saying your population is projected to grow. Diamondhead is growing now, and all things remaining equal, and heaven forbid some disaster of some sort, Diamondhead, we can say with near certainty, will continue to grow and grow at a significant rate. That's point one. Point two is there is significant demand for retail consumer goods and services in Diamondhead. The surveys, and this will be documented in the plan, you're driving to Waveland, you're driving to Slidell, you're driving to Gulfport for some stuff, not everything, but a lot of stuff. And all that is potential, we call it capture. It's potential capture for business here because the city wants to service its own citizens, and obviously that potential exists here. Now, if we reduce that to the ability to create retail space, we can pretty much, with a very high degree of certainty, say you have immediate demand for 60,000 square feet of new retail space in this community. And again, using our Rouse's comparison, that's another couple of stores. As the community grows and as you capture more, that can even be expanded. And when we get into the planning part, as you improve the aesthetics of the community, the desirability of the place, the sense of place, which we'll show you, it grows even more. So we see pent-up demand. Now, I recall, any of you that participated earlier, do you remember what the number one desired business is in Diamondhead, based on our survey that we did for this document? A coffee shop. I'm like, who is not putting in a coffee shop? I'd be out and looking for space tomorrow. So that's the number one demand. Coffee shop would go. So those statistics are there. You will see. And let's comment on, so Diamondhead is an older community by nature. It's not necessarily because people there are more retirees attracted to this environment than would otherwise be. So that's the reason for that. But you are by nature an older community. We document that. You're in a relatively affluent community. There's a very low poverty rate here. And there's an exceptionally high degree of home ownership. These are unique characteristics. It makes your city very, very unique among cities in the region and in the state. So as we continue on, we will begin to see, I'm going to skip through the stat section here. We talk a little bit about the housing market, about the need for the diversification of housing in Diamondhead. It's predominantly a single-family home community with a few condos scattered about and other things scattered about. But there's a need for a retirement, shall we say, assisted living, or 55 and older housing is there. A need for townhomes, a diversification of housing is a need that was identified in the plan. In terms of retail leakage, I will show this. Within a 30-minute drive time, Diamondhead right here shows you're leaking $200 million of retail consumer expenditures. Let me back up. You've got $200 million in retail sales. But in the community, you're only spending $69 million of it here, meaning the balance is leaking out to other places, $150 million going elsewhere. So the planning implication is this: over 20 years, it'd be good to capture that and have it here, if it's planned right and developed right and in the right environment and so forth. All right, I'll finish up with this. I won't dwell on this. Diamondhead's mobility system was assessed very quickly. This in the lower left-hand corner is a Strava map. Is anybody on Strava in here by chance? Strava is a running app, and I'm a runner, so every run I do, I turn on Strava, and it puts a GPS line, and so all the people that are on Strava, you can download a map where they're running. So this is the active. Is that the active Strava map? Yeah, that's what's called a Strava Heat Map. This is where people are biking and running in Diamondhead. The redder the line, the more biking and running that's going on. And what it tells us is it's a really active outdoor community. Of course it is. There's all kinds of amenities out there. But what is Diamondhead lacking? How can it improve that? How can it generate a more inviting space to be active? That's part of the mobility that we looked at. But we also looked at the vehicular aspects. We already know, everybody knows, we've got a bottleneck at the interstate, which is being addressed. We've probably got some sort of there are not many ways in and out of Diamondhead. And so that's addressed in the plan in just a moment. This section closes with community facilities. And I'll summarize this by saying you have a complex system of community facilities. And this includes a a property owners association that's responsible for certain amenities. It includes a city government that's responsible for certain amenities. You have a sewer district that's doing the sewer district, water district things. You have a fire department. It's a very complex situation. We acknowledge that in the plan. And so we document the various ways, various responsibilities there, and then acknowledge the nature of what's there. Now, that's section 1. I promise you I'm going to do this in the time frame I said. Section 2 is the visioning. Now, you all, if we could shout for you, we would. We have talked about Diamond. We started this in the pandemic, and we had to shift everything. We normally have people coming to meetings and huddling over maps, and they're breathing on one another and all of that. We couldn't do any of that. So we created a little mapping app. I don't know who participated, and you dotted a map on your phones in real time, and people watching from YouTube. It worked really, really well. And we thank you for cooperating. We told Mike that, hey, it's an experiment. We've never done it. It may be a disaster, but it wasn't. So y'all's participation in that has led to the visioning part of this plan, which this will be a quick section to go through. The engagement structure was carried out by means of an advisory group. There's an advisory group that's kind of hovered over, and we sort of funneled information and had some dialogue with about, hey, how do we... So you had an advisory group. There were focus groups that were convened. Then we had general community input electronically and on-site. And then we have a website that has had a lot of hits, and all of that adds up to multi-thousands of people giving input into the plan. And there's some of this is your dot map. I don't know if y'all remember the exercise, but it was interesting when we did this. The yellow dots mean places that you have concern about, and the green dots are thumbs up. Well, we were doing it in real time, and some of the cautionary places, as I was clicking the comments, some of the folks were actually in the room, and so it was an interesting time, I guess you might say. But we worked through it. So this was some of our own site meetings. We're all masked up. And this is where I'm getting to on this part. This is the way we see, that you see, Diamondhead. And these planning principles that we need to be thinking about preserving Diamondhead and preserving it by honoring its unique heritage, stewarding the natural environment, ensuring the ongoing integrity of the amenities is a vital issue. We want to grow Diamondhead, mixed-use, walkable, attractive kind of community. We want to connect Diamondhead, trails, pathways, bikeways, more vehicular routes in and out of the community. And then we want to celebrate Diamondhead. How can the community be celebrated? Through its festivals, through its public art displays, through its parade, the luau parade, whatever it is, Main Street, celebrating Diamondhead. Those principles guide the plan. And then we roll into the plan itself. The plan itself is built on the idea that communities exist on a continuum. There are rural areas, there are more suburban areas, there are more intensely urban areas, there's a core of the community, and then there are special areas that are very unique. We use that, without getting too deep in the weeds, we use that methodology to develop what we call place types. So as the city grows, this map will indicate the future development. I'm going to break it down for you. The future development of the city and how it would grow. So all of this original Diamondhead, we call it first Diamondhead, sort of stays the same. Same pattern is already platted. What's not platted develops in a similar pattern. Dramatic improvement of the commercial core right here at the interstate. A real rethinking of the waterfront, which is a huge amenity for this community, as everyone knows. And then thinking through, if the community did expand, how would these places work in the expansion area? So looking at the place types, the first one is parks, amenities, and open spaces. So this gives you a sense of what a park and an amenity and an open space is, which you already know intuitively what it is. We call out its characteristics. And then we map those key places. So everything in green is parks, amenities, and open spaces. So showing up on this is future dog park, the Montjoy Creek kayak launch, development of the athletic fields, the Noma Drive launch, perhaps a future indoor facility, and then all these green spaces and open spaces out and around. Parks, amenities, and open spaces also includes the natural waterfront, so that's a different kind of open space. And of course, we all know where the natural waterfront lies, down the river in the Rotten Bayou and along the bay. Residential neighborhoods, we divide these into a couple of different types. The first one is what we call first Diamondhead. And first Diamondhead neighborhoods are the first Diamondhead neighborhoods. They're what's the core of the original community. And you see them all colored in yellow. They're characterized by single-family development, curvilinear streets, yards, interspersed with some condos and multiple family. A second kind of neighborhood is a suburban neighborhood and a traditional neighborhood. When I say a suburban neighborhood, that would be less of these curvilinear streets and more of a grid pattern that you would see in suburban expansion. We have all that really outside the city limits in the expansion area. A traditional neighborhood would be something more akin to a seaside, but seaside, that style and kind of development for a traditional neighborhood. We had that designated out in this area, in the expansion area near the interstate. Okay, then we have the commercial sections of Diamondhead, and this is very, very important. They're all important, but this is really important. In the commercial place types, there's an idea of suburban redevelopment. So you'll see that red spot there was left out of the master plan of Diamondhead. It had no plan. And when it grew, the Hancock County had no plan. That's who would have governed it. So it's, I wouldn't hesitate to call it, it's not quite a hodgepodge, but it comes close. It's not the most attractive of downtowns, but it's all right. We got a method to work on that, and we are working on it. So the idea here is in these red spots right there, suburban redevelopment. So we take East Aloha, for instance. How can we take these big, deep setbacks with big, vast parking lots with not a tree on them and make that a more walkable, desirable space? So what this plan Envision is an Aloha district whereby we do create massing of buildings at the street with a sidewalk connected by trail and golf cart to the other community, where you can go sit on a patio and enjoy the afternoon or go to your coffee shop and have coffee, all of those things, restaurant, retail services. And remember I said earlier, we found 60,000 feet of space. You could justify it immediately. So there are developers that are interested in doing this concept. So we have included this in the plan, and this is really your vision of your downtown. You want it improved. How do you improve it? Well, this is a way we press ahead to improve it. That's a plan view of the same thing. Some of this is in motion now with grant funding to recreate that street. And then you'll see the buildings being established along the way there, and the parking lots being retrofitted with landscaping and so forth. The other side of the road is a town center mixed use. There's nothing there now, so we're not retrofitting. We're building new on this side over here, most of this side over here. Town center mixed use, and that would involve mixed use buildings that would again satisfy some of that commercial space. And this would be an example of a town center mixed use type building in that area there. All right, we're moving to suburban centers. These would be what you already have. We would call Rouse's pretty close to a suburban center, and certainly the shopping center across the street that's a suburban center. Those are fine, and they're needed, and you go there to buy stuff, and they're valuable, but they need to be well done, well planned, well amenitized, and put in the right place. And we don't see them on Aloha Street in the future. However, there's a place for them out the backside over here, and then the expansion near the interstate over there. And then you have a host, well, not a host, several very, very important special areas, and they are special areas for sure. The first one being we call out four: the town waterfront, the resort waterfront, technology and industry, and the rural reserve. Let's go with the town waterfront. This is right down where the Lazy Gator is in the Marina, right there circled in blue. How can that town waterfront be a real town waterfront, active, vibrant, filled with events? How can that occur? So we begin to, and that's what you've told us you would like to see occur there. So we begin to think about the redesign of this space. And we did do a design on it, and you'll see it here, including a better hotel, or a flagship hotel, I'll say it that way, perhaps a boutique hotel, expanded, I can't see my letters, an expanded marina. So let's look at this slide to the right. Expanding the marina, you'll see a concept here that has kind of a townhome, and then the marina is expanded out a little bit. You'll see an amphitheater on this piece right here, surrounded by some mixed-use buildings, and then around the traffic circle, perhaps hotel, all of that in conceptual form, but all of it providing a vision for future development in that area. So the role that plays when the plan is adopted and ready to go, and the property begins to develop, can be developed according to that vision. So you'll want to look at the document. Here we go, finally. So that's an expanded view of it. Expanded marina, amphitheater. There's some mixed-use dwellings behind. You see the concept that we're working with there. Resort waterfront. We'll go straight to the resort waterfront. There's always been the discussion and the potential of resort, including gaming over here. So this place type is included in the plan, and the characteristics are provided to include, things like condominiums and perhaps vacation homes and those sorts of things, all related to the waterfront associated there. Technology and industry, I won't dwell on. You don't have a lot of that here, and there's not a lot of space allocated for it. And we're working in another community now that has about 70% of the community is allocated in industrial space. Obviously, that's not the nature of Diamondhead, but there is a place in the expansion area and around the airport where that is and could be appropriate. The last one is Diamondhead's Rural Reserve. We didn't know what to do with this, so we set it aside as a rural reserve and said, if and when the community expands, we'll take this matter up right in here later, or Diamondhead should take it up later and plan it more thoroughly. I'm going to go to the, I'm going to clip through these quickly to give you a sense of the planned multimodal facilities. Now, this is the mobility aspect of the plan. We have very few new routes on this document, but I'll show you where they are. But we do have an abundance of trails, side paths, and greenways. There's an abundance on here. And they would be a massive, a huge amenity to Diamondhead. That's what these maps will indicate with bike lanes around Diamondhead Drive, and then a network of paths and trails without going into the detail. And then also we should not leave out the Blue Way, which goes down the river and the bayou around the front, and actually also extends all the way over to the front here. So that's included in Envision Diamondhead 2040. This will give you some visuals of how the side paths would work. Some of it's just a matter of striping existing facilities. Some of it requires a little more design than that, but all of that is explored in the plan. The Blue Ways we cover, we talk about, I will touch on this. We know you got a roundabout coming. The concept here is whenever you build a street, it's a complete street. It includes facilities for pedestrians and bikes, and it connects to something. So complete streets, the use of the roundabouts is a concept in the plan. In terms of community facilities going forward, we know that's a debate. We understand that that's being thoroughly discussed and will continue to be discussed. What our plan is indicating here is that it needs to be discussed, obviously. And the amenities, they got to be preserved. They got to go forward. Your community is a community of amenities. It's vital. And we know that the utility issue is there. And really the plan essentially says this is an issue that the community must develop solutions for going forward for its best, most productive future. Finally, and I'm to the end, and let's see how I did on time. I went 10 minutes over. We're at the implementation. That's a flyover of your plan. There's some very, very important things there for your future and for the future of whoever moves in here as a community. All of that has to be implemented. And so we do our best to provide a guide or a matrix or a set of action strategies that can be followed up on. Now, whenever we start forecasting strategy, we know, because we're humans and you're humans, that some of our strategies may not prove feasible. So they got to be adjusted over time. They have to be evaluated. Maybe we didn't think that one all the way through. So that's a factor in strategizing. But nonetheless, we have a set of strategies here that we can say, again, with a high degree of certainty, if they are pursued, you will have a better community over time, and you will begin moving towards this vision. The strategies, there's about 40 of them there. I'll tell you how they're organized, and I'll tell you generally what a few of them say. You can have the document, you can look at it, you can read it, the council will have it, the planning commission will have it, and so you can comment on it at a more appropriate time. But the strategies are based on the principles that I referenced earlier. Preserving Diamondhead. So we got a strategy. What is our environmental preservation strategy in Diamondhead? Dealing with tree canopy. That was one element that we need to look at. Potential preservation of the wetlands on the edges, the marshes. Is there an acquisition element involved in some of those natural areas? That'll be strategized. And in the element of preserving Diamondhead. All of those are there. Expanding and ensuring the integrity of Diamondhead's amenities, green spaces, and open spaces. And we got several strategies there. We need to explore this issue of what do you do with the covenants? How does that issue play out? I don't know. We don't know how it plays out, but it certainly needs to be worked with and dealt with. Other ways of expanding the park spaces and preserving those amenities. Some of these are already in process, or we're going to claim them. Here's one, the dog park. That's already in process, being designed and moving forward. In terms of growing Diamondhead, you don't have the coding to build the Aloha District as we envision here. So there needs to be revised coding, and I'm talking zoning coding to do that. That's a strategy to implement the plan for growing Diamondhead. Dealing with growing the waterfront, providing the diversified housing choices. These strategies go on and on. Some of them, continue to administer your floodplain rules, continue to administer your current building code. Some of that's a continuation, ongoing elements. Connecting Diamondhead will involve investments in generating the multimodal lanes. One thing that I did not mention that's very important to Diamondhead is identity moving into the community. As you come into Diamondhead, you could be coming in. What's at the front door is in no way reflective of the quality and the great community you have right in the middle here. So identity there, generating better streetscapes, landscaping, all of that strategized in the plan, updating the coding to achieve it, and then celebrating Diamondhead strategies related to exploring the Main Street organization, how to be a part of that, developing, we were brainstorming the other day. I mentioned earlier I'm a runner. Diamondhead has 7 miles. Is it 7 miles around the drive? Okay, so 3.5 times around Diamondhead Drive, you got the Diamondhead Marathon. It's right there. You'd have hundreds of people from all over the Gulf Coast paying $100 or $200 to run it, and you take those funds and start building your multimodal paths all around, or your parks or whatever. But not only that, Diamondhead's got a great running path around the city. It's got a kayak blueway right there, and I'm sure we can find a bike path around the city. You got a triathlon. You start promoting that. You got the Diamondhead Triathlon. It'll start off with 20 people, and it'll grow to hundreds over years. And so that's a way to celebrate the city. I mean, that's the kind of thing we're talking about, bringing life and vitality. And then when you get those people here, we start thinking about the Aloha District or the town waterfront, and I can go down there to drink an IPA, and then I can come up here to run, and it becomes a really top shelf kind of place. And all that's achievable. And all that's strategized on here. So I went 15 minutes over, forgive me. That's some of our project mapping. I want to stop there. We said we'd end at 7. It's 6:48. I'd like to open it. Let me say before I open it for questions or comments, if you want to. We are totally open to comments. If we have phrased something or you don't like the way we phrased, tell us. Maybe we can adjust it where we get it right, where most folks are comfortable with it. Or if you think we didn't emphasize something enough, open to comments. It's a public process. You can do that online. We have that capability. You can shoot comments to us directly. So I want you to know the comment process is open. Now, I'll stop there. I know that's a ton of information. It's drinking from a fire hose, and yes, sir, fire away.
I would like to know if you were to say most of these
The most important thing about capturing retail dollars would be having the retail here to purchase that's leaking away, if that's any kind of answer at all. And then the secondary part of that would be creating an environment where people can successfully do business. And when I say an environment, I don't mean just another, say it again. He said it. I mean, trying to provide an environment that entices a good quality of product. That's a very important aspect of it as well. Yes.
We've been sitting on top of the house for 16 years and nothing has happened. So why would we believe that anything is going to happen in the next 19 years if nothing happened in the last 16 years?
Well, all I can tell you is that there's interest all up and down this coast in investing. And if it's not planned for, I can guarantee you it won't happen. The best method to be successful is to plan for it and then put the strategies in place to entice it and tease it out. And it can be done. It can be done. I don't know what, I wasn't here 16 years ago, so I don't know how it was treated. I don't know what the circumstances were. But I can tell you with certainty, we have identified a market in this town. It is here. And there are people interested in satisfying that market.
Yeah, but the Harvard Circle owns about 37 different people who own that now. There's no way you can do anything.
Ma'am, I have no idea. I have no doubt that it's a challenge. I have no doubt that it's difficult. I hear you. I know. But I want to encourage you to be hopeful about it. There are ways to get these things done. No, not at all. There are ways to get it done. The strategies, it may not produce the exact result you're seeing in that picture. We can draw a lot of pretty pictures. But I can assure you the community can advance with the right strategies pursued. And it's potential. Thank you, though. Thank you for the question. It's a good challenge, and I understand. Other thoughts, comments? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's an excellent point. And the study does address the fact that the challenges down there on the waterfront are big time. We know that. And we know the elevation issues, and we know the flood zones. And I don't pretend to ice the cake too much there. But yes, thank you. Yes, appreciate that comment. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what were the number of casinos that were interested years back doing something on the south side, including Waterfront? A lot of people here talked about, well, they'll use our swimming pools and they'll use our golf course and come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Did I hear another? Thank you for the. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. Yes, thank you. So on the west side of, back behind the Diamondhead end, is designated town center mixed use. So we call that a green field. It's green, there's nothing on it. We're not retrofitting, we're not rebuilding. It'd be new development. So there is a place type here called town center mixed use intended for that walkable environment. I guess the best comparison, I always hesitate to compare to other communities because you don't know who's going to object to that. But if we look at downtown Ocean Springs would be a kind of a good example of a downtown mixed-use sort of place. Now, it's old and mature, but there is a designation back behind there to be connected with a new street. And I think y'all have that new street funded, don't you? As an extension of Aloha to the west. So we do treat it in the plan. You might want to take a closer look. Thank you.
One other thing.
Yes.
How come we've gotten away from, like you say, this Diamondhead theme with palm trees and making the place look more like Diamondhead? My thought and my thought was the majority of properties out there. And back then, I mean, it was humming with the atmosphere that, was elevated.
Right.
Somehow or another, that escaped.
Yes, sir. And that came up in we asked that specific question. What about the Hawaiian theme for Diamondhead? And there's a lot of sentiment for that. We like it, quite frankly, and play on it. Now, it can be overdone, but it is the identity of Diamondhead, and it needs to be woven in as we go forward in the future. It's a good point. Did I hear somebody? Okay. Oh, by the way, so we had more than, I'm Bob Barber, and we had a whole team of our folks here, and one of them was Oliver Seabolt. He's way back over there in the corner. And so he's here tonight, and I didn't see him earlier, so I want you to know he's with our group as well. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
It seems to me that we're violating the wetlands now that we're building more. I see places where they're putting homes now and just filling in the land with red clay, and blocking the drainage and all of that. Is any of that being watched at all?
We call out the wetlands, and we identify the wetlands in this plan, and we know that they are either unbuildable or very, very constrained. Without knowing the specific circumstance, I can't speak to it, but I can say that the wetlands are very closely regulated, heavily regulated.
Yeah, and I mean, I know in New Orleans and Never, they started building things and making parking lots and all of a sudden places that had never flooded
Yes.
were getting a foot or more of water.
Yes, ma'am. And we as a group are totally sympathetic to those wetlands. They should be,
They're certainly hauling a lot of dirt in and
well,
filling in the drainage.
I don't know the circumstance. I'm just saying this plan is totally sensitive to those wetlands. Calls them out and calls them out for preservation. Now, what's happening today on the ground, I don't know. But from a planning point of view, yes, ma'am, it is part of the plan. We call them out, hands off the wetlands to the degree that they're regulated, yes.
A lot of these areas are wetlands, they're
Exactly. I don't know yeah. Yeah. Right. The city has generated some code amendments to address that, these downslopes and these infilling of lots. I think that amendment's been passed. So that is being addressed, yes. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
The details of the plan and the strategy is great, but has there been an official commitment by the CRA, the city, the powers that be, followed?
Fantastic question. So the plan is not adopted. It's a public review draft. We'll be giving it to the Planning Commission and Council in the coming month or so. And once adopted, that in theory is their commitment to pursue it. But be reminded, it can always be adjusted. It's not a perfect instrument. So some of these strategies. But great question. This is a draft. We're looking for comment on it. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. One more.
Country club.
Yes, sir.
They call it a country club. What they need to do is they need to open up a bunch
Yes, sir. Okay, I'll go there. Thank you. That's the country club. Okay, thanks for the comments. This is your final reminder. It's online, you download it, you look at it. The community will be considering it carefully. If it's adopted, it's operational in the community. So it's there for you. Last question, maybe.
How long is the comment period?
I don't know that we set a comment period, but exact period. But I'm gonna suggest that it be. It'll be at least 14 days. Yes. Is that okay? All right. No? No? Well, it's been open, so all right. We'll 30 days. How about we go to the end of May? That work? 30-day period. All right. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Again, we appreciate our residents coming out tonight on a Thursday night. I know you're probably hungry and thirsty. Again, this is a draft plan. Please go to envisiondiamondhead2040.com. You can read the plan, print the plan, make comment. You can email directly to Bob. You can also, I think there's other forms of communication through there. We want to hear what y'all think, what you want, so they can make changes. Ideally, this would go to planning and zoning at the end of May, and then go to the council at the beginning of June. If that needs to be pushed back 30 days, we'll push it back based on comments and what we hear back from you guys. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. They've done an outstanding job over the last year. Thank y'all.